Husband in a woman's body. It's terrible, doctor, John told me. I just can't get rid of this feeling. John had been a regular patient of mine for years now. His therapy had gone nowhere, and I was getting impatient. Let's take it slowly, I told him calmly. Tell me from the beginning. Well, I can't get rid of this feeling I don't belong in this body. What do you mean? I probed patiently. John had often come to me with absurdities. Once, he came dressed all in black, insisting he was a vampire. Another time, he had come to me dressed in fur, telling me of his adventures as a fox. This was not new for John. Doctor, I'm a woman. John, remember, we promised each other we would speak of reality, not fantasy. I'm serious. After all this time, I have finally figured out my problem. I'm supposed to be a woman, but I'm trapped in the body of this man. And why do you think this? My patience was leaving me rapidly. My fingers began drumming on the side of the chair. Remember what I told you when I left my wife? I told you it didn't feel right. I couldn't put my finger on why. The sex was good, and the company was great. I just needed something else. I needed a man. A man now. What will it be next? I mumbled to myself. What did you say? John snapped out of his discourse. I think I have finally figured out your problem, I said angrily, getting up from my chair. I think you have a serious identity crisis. Take some time by yourself and learn to accept who you are. Your body is all you are. There is nothing else. If your body says you're a man, then you're a man. Accept it. Accept it, huh? John said, himself rising. We'll see who needs to accept things. John, I didn't mean anything, I said, trying to calm the situation. I only said. You said enough, mister. And to think that I trusted you with my secrets for so long. You'll be sorry, sir. You'll be sorry. With that, John ran out of the room and out of sight. I took a deep breath. I had never blown up at a patient before, though I had never had a patient as stubborn as John. All my other patients required 1 or 2 sessions to get their lives together. They needed just a bit of coaxing before they rearranged and started accepting their lives. But John had been my first patient and after 10 years had continued to visit me. There, maybe now he'll finally accept himself for who he is. I told myself aloud. Turning around, I phoned my wife at home. Naturally, she was gone, but I left her a message. Hon, I am coming home now. I know it's the middle of the day, but I just had a dreadful encounter with John, and I need some time to relax. See you soon. Love you. Debbie, I spoke into the intercom. Cancel all my appointments today. I need some R&R. That's fine, she replied. I grabbed my coat and went home. I had not been there long when the doorbell rang. I was sitting in front of the television in my boxer shorts. A beer in one hand and the remote in the other. Just a minute, I called, swearing to myself. Why did they have to come now? Opening the door, I saw the one person in the world I had least expected to see, John. Hi, doctor. I just thought I'd stop by and tell you how sorry I am. John, hi. I said, nervously, thanks for the apology, but really I am the one who needs to apologize. No, John said. If only I had taken your advice so many years ago and accepted who I was, I wouldn't be in this predicament right now. You know, John, I said. You do have a point. This is what I've been trying to tell you all these years. Acceptance is the first step to recovery. Yeah, you're right. And just to show you how sorry I am, I brought a bottle of wine over to toast and celebrate. Oh, John. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I know, but I did. Could you get me 2 glasses? Going to the cupboard, I grabbed 2 wine glasses. Why don't you come and sit down in here? I said, motioning to the couch. And here are the wine glasses for you. Great. Say, where's your bathroom? Right down the hall. Feel free. I think I will. Wait one moment. John left to visit the toilet. I sat there on the couch, stunned at my patient's miraculous recovery. Who would have thought that screaming at him would have solved the problem I had patiently been trying to fix all these years? John came back with a smile on his face. I'm back. Great, I said. Shall we toast? Pouring the wine into 2 glasses, he carefully handed me one while taking the other. Let's toast to a new relationship, shall we? Great. A new relationship. Raising the glass up to my mouth, I downed the wine and sat back. John looked at me closely, then, grabbing the wine and handing me his glass, he said, Well, I'd best be going now. Thanks, John, for the wine, I said as I stood to usher him out. No, he said with a smile. Thank you. As he replied, I felt a curious rumble in my stomach. I dropped to my knees, clutching my stomach. John just smiled at me. What have you done to me? I mumbled in pain. Now you will understand an identity crisis firsthand. Have fun. And with that, he walked out the door, laughing as he drove away. The pain in my stomach increased in intensity. I sat down on the couch and massaged my stomach. The asshole had poisoned me. Why had I been so stupid? No matter, I thought as I reached for the phone. As my hand touched the phone, I felt a strange tingling feeling starting at my fingers and working up my arm. Looking closely at my hands, they seemed soft and smooth. Definitely not the hands that had worked hours in the sun as I had done before school. These hands were manicured, almost feminine. The tingle moved up my arm and into my shoulders. As it moved, my body began to rearrange itself. My muscles that I had worked for now deflated and the skin around them became smooth. The tint of my skin grew paler in color and the temperature cooled. The tingle in my hands stopped at my shoulders, but a tingle in my legs grew in intensity. First at the feet where my worn nails suddenly grew fuller. The hair on my feet and the hair on my legs grew paler and shorter. The tint of my skin matched the tint of my arms. As the tingle stopped at my calves, I realized with horror that my legs had become feminine. The legs that I had admired and adored on my wife were suddenly attached to my own calves. The pain continued to mount in my stomach as I dragged myself to the bathroom. I could feel a faint tingle in my face, and I was afraid of what I would see. Looking at myself in the mirror, I watched as the hair on my face disappeared. My face rounded out and my lips grew fuller, more red. My eyelashes grew longer and 2 dimples became obvious on my cheeks. Then my hair. I had always hated long hair and had been known to shave off all my hair at one time. Now it grew like wildfire. Thick blonde strands pushed out of my head and fell down my shoulders. When it was all over, the face I looked at was no longer my own but a beautiful blonde female. I had no time to adjust to this change when the more dramatic changes started to occur. The pain heightened even more in my stomach and I sat myself down on the toilet. Pulling my pants down, my bowels emptied themselves at a rate I had not known of before. As they did, the tingle increased and centered itself on my torso. The tingle began first at my chest, which had begun to ache. Pulling up my shirt, I noticed my nipples slowly growing larger and more erect. 2 mounds of flesh then pushed them out. I cupped them in my hands, hoping to hold back the growth, but they pressed my hands outward. Until at last, I had 2 large breasts hanging from my chest. Again the medicine took effect as my hips began filling. I felt myself struggle to stay seated on the toilet as my ass and my hips both took on weight. The last of the changes in my breasts and hips was just finishing when the pain in my stomach knocked me off the toilet. Grabbing my stomach, I began to moan and howl in pain. My groin felt like it was on fire and a strong pulling sensation could be felt in that area. Just as the pain mounted to its fullest, I passed out on the floor in a pool of sweat and blood. I woke up hours later to the sound of someone coming in the door. "Honey, dear. Are you there?" It was my wife. I sat up off the floor, a pool of blood and sweat around me. "I'm right here, dear," I called. As I yelled for my wife, I cupped my mouth. Something did not sound right. My voice had gone up several octaves and sounded quite feminine. Grabbing my things, I ran into the bedroom just as she rounded the corner. Locking the door, I looked through her clothes. So many things to wear. How could a woman ever decide? Finally, I chose an outfit I knew I would fit into. A long skirt with a sleek top. "Honey, are you there?" my wife said as she approached the bedroom door. "What's wrong?" Rubbing one of my wife's bras and a pair of her pants, I tried to fit my newly formed body into them. The pants fit, but I'll be damned. The bra was too small. Looking at the tag, I took note of the size, 34B. Great, I thought as I slipped the dress. "Dear, are you okay?" my wife said at the door, now panic-stricken. "I'm fine," I said, trying to sound not quite so feminine. "No, there's something wrong. Open this door and let me in." "I can't do that," I said, gathering up my clothes. Turning toward the mirror, I looked into the image that I would see now for the rest of my life. A young, 20-something-year-old woman stared back at me. If I had been male, I would have found her extremely attractive. Even as a female looking at this woman who appeared to be me now, I found myself slightly aroused. Her hair was just the right length, a little past the shoulder. Her face curved in just the right ways with those dimples highlighting her features. Her breasts were just the right size, larger than some but now extremely large. And then her legs, well, any man would have died to have a girl with legs like these. But what was I doing inside this body? "Honey!" my wife yelled, "let me in, now." "All right, dear," I said again, trying to sound masculine. "But you must promise not to be mad at me." "I'll be mad at you if you don't let me in." "Fine," I said and unlocked the door. The look on my wife's face at that moment could have been sent into a television studio. The genuine surprise and astonishment frightened me. "Where is my husband?" she said to me. "Dear, it's me. I'm your husband." My husband, she said, regaining her composure, my husband would not be pretending he wasn't something he wasn't. He was always big on accepting responsibility. Now tell me where he is, and I won't call the police. Honey, it's me. My husband would have had the decency to come to me before he borrowed my clothes. I don't know who you are, lady, but I'm calling the police. Stop, she said and made her way to the phone. Stop! I screamed, my high-pitched female voice startling me. My wife shook with fear. Then regaining my own dignity, I said, Lady, I'll leave you. You tell that two-timing son of a bitch that he will never lay his hands on me ever again. Crying in her hands, she walked me to the front door and slammed it behind me.